Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, coming to you this time around with Merlin. So, if you guys have been following, I put up a poll a couple weeks ago on what should be the show that replaces Game of Thrones on Fridays. And you all cast your votes, and the winner was Merlin. So, we're going to be watching it, as per your demand. Yeah, Merlin. I can only assume it's based on Merlin, the legend of Merlin and King Arthur. Yeah. I know a lot of people are excited for this. A lot of people said that this was their childhood, which is far out. I like that. I totally get it, too. I love it when I see people reacting to shows that I watched as a kid. Namely, like Avatar and stuff like that. So I totally get where this is coming from. I'm very curious as to what this entails. And yeah. Also, you can probably plainly tell what I have out on the table here for this show. You know, for Game of Thrones and Doctor Who, I normally put stuff out. For Game of Thrones, it's the DVDs. And Doctor Who, I have a sonic screwdriver and a Dalek mug. And I was like, well, okay, I kind of want something out. I like it when I can put something out. But, you know, I don't have anything for Stranger Things or Torchwood and yada, yada, yada. But I was like, you know what? I think I have something. And this is actually... here, let me remove it from its microphone prison. This is actually... you can obviously see it's a toy sword meant for little children, although it could be used as a nice dagger, but yeah, this was actually one of my toy swords from when I was a kid. Yeah, because I was way into the Middle Ages and stuff like that. I had a bunch of these actually, but this one was the smallest and the most fancy one, I guess, because it's all like a gold hilt and it's got a little ruby on one side, not the other. This backside here is a little, it's not as great. It's, you know, it's got the made in China and it's got screw holes and it's, yeah, missing a ruby, but over here it's got something. So I thought I'd put this out. It's kind of King Arthur, like Arthurian, medieval, if I could talk. And I was like, well, I need something to like prop this up on. So I got another thing from my childhood. A bunch of rocks. Yeah, when I was a kid, I actually still have these out because I was looking for the right rocks to put under here. Okay, I got a ton of rocks. I just kind of collected rocks when I was a kid, not for any purpose. I was just like, oh hey, a cool rock, and I got that. And evidently, I kept these for all this time because I don't know. I just sort of had them. It's just something that's like, I just never got rid of, so I have it. And I was like, you know what? If you guys are so excited to show me your childhood, then I'm going to show you part of my childhood, which is some small toy sword and a bunch of rocks. But I thought they would work well, holding up the sword, you know, kind of sword in the stone. I know this show is about Merlin, but it's got to have King Arthur in it for some reason, and I didn't really have anything magic-y, so... yeah, that's the best you get. That's sort of the best you can get in terms of props for this show. Yeah, that's basically that. This is when I say no spoilers in the comments whatsoever. And let's see. Because it's the first episode of the season, you can watch this full uncut reaction for free. If you head down to the link in the description to my Patreon or to the pinned comment, it might be there too if I remember to do that. But you should be able to find a link to my Patreon page, and from there you should be able to find episode 1 in full length if you want to watch my full uncut reaction completely free. And then it doesn't have any show footage, by the way. It's so basically normally when there's show footage, it's not going to have that in that version. But I made it to where you can sync up your copy of the episode as best you can. And then if you like that, you can pledge for full length. And also, probably when this goes up on YouTube, episode 2 will be available for early access. So, yeah. That's basically that. Let's start watching Merlin. here we go. Hey guys, I just wanted to come on here and say that due to copyright issues, the reaction actually is not in this video. The reaction you want to watch is not in this video. But there is still a way of viewing it. If you go down in the description of this video, there is a link to Google Drive. It's nice, it's all good, and you can watch my 10-minute highlight reaction with the footage, completely free of charge. And yeah, you can go watch that, you can go enjoy it, and then when you're done with that, you can come back over to the YouTube video for the discussion. Yeah, that's pretty much that. See you guys there. Enjoy. Sorry about this. Okay, that's the first episode of Merlin. You know what? That was fun. I liked that. That was interesting. It's I'd say it's like, obviously, yes, as a replacement to Game of Thrones, it works as a medieval sort of replacement, but it's obviously not like dark and gritty like Game of Thrones, but that's okay. It was good. I'd say, like, it is definitely a lot more like Doctor Who in terms of, like, tone and stuff like that, which some of you guys told me. It's like, oh, yeah, well, it's, you know, you'll probably like it because it is close in tone to Doctor Who, so that's fine. I enjoyed that. So, yeah. That was definitely fun, and I'm definitely curious as to where it goes. Oh, God, my chair is making noises up the wazoo. I don't know if you can hear that. Probably can. Probably need to do something with that. Whatever. Alright, let's go over my notes. If you're new here, if you found this channel because you are curious about Merlin reactions, this is what I do after I watch the episode. I do a discussion, which is important to watch because, you know, it gives all of my real thoughts and stuff like that, and we have fun discussions here, so just that's a little thing if you're new here. But yeah, let's go over my notes. I wrote a decent amount of them down. The first thing I wrote down was no magic. That's interesting. That's an interesting little dynamic to add on top of that. That, you know, because with this show, it's like, okay, it's like, you know, the show is about Merlin in the Arthurian legend. And it's like, okay, well, Merlin, who we traditionally see as this sort of old man, you know, this powerful sorcerer, he kind of looks like Gandalf or Dumbledore or something, you know, we have that sort of image of Merlin in our heads, but in this show, we have a young man playing Merlin, so it's like, okay, well, so we go on top of this, it's like, oh, well, there's something special about him that he is a sorcerer. And it's like, okay, well, why is he so great? You know, why is he such a great sorcerer? Well, one of the reasons is he's one of the only sorcerers in existence. Because King Uthar, which I'm going to bring up the cast list so that I can see this. Yeah, Uther Pendragon. That's interesting. Yeah, So Uther basically just outlawed all use of magic 20 years ago because there's something that something happened. There was some sort of like war or calamity that occurred that Uther just put a stop to completely, and after that he banned the practice of all magic because he believed that, you know, it was bad. It led to so many horrible things that he just banned it outright. And then excuse me. And then, so not only that, but he also went as far as to hunt down basically all the dragons that were around, which is interesting. All but one. He left one dragon alive. So that was also interesting. But yeah, just that's an interesting way just to sort of establish sort of the world that we have, because, you know, we start off with Merlin just sort of arriving at Camelot and, you know, just kind of going through the town all wide-eyed and stuff like that. And then then basically to sort of set the tone, we have, the explanation of why he banned magic. And they made that, I think they brought it up in a great way that, like, didn't like distract. Like, it wasn't like, here's a quick exposition dump. It's like no, it was sort of brought up in a natural way where, a guy was being put to death because he was because he used magic. So I did like that. I kind of like that they put someone to death immediately. Within like the first 5 minutes, they literally axed a guy. And I kind of made the comment, oh, this is, your childhood shows are a lot more hardcore than mine. It's true. And I've said this before kind of in, I've said this before in some of my videos, but like when I was a kid, I feel like death and dying was just not a thing, and like, especially in cartoons, but I mean, I don't know. I guess that's the other thing too, is I never had like good live action shows when I was a kid. Like, you guys get Doctor Who and Sarah Jane and Merlin, and it's like when I guess American live action shows, they weren't like, these big stories with, production and stuff like that. It was mostly sitcoms like Drake and Josh or iCarly, and it's like that was basically it. And those were all comedy series, so you didn't get any death or anything like that. But yeah, it's very interesting, it's very interesting in this that, first off, that you guys get these sort of high quality shows for, younger audiences. Now, I don't know exactly what audience, like, Merlin is aimed at. I know Doctor Who is a family show, and Sarah Jane was more aimed at younger kids. Or more like, teenage-ish. I guess sort of young teenage for Sarah Jane. But, so yeah, I don't know exactly, like, what age group Merlin was marketed towards. But since so many of you guys said anyway that, this was like your childhood show, that does, it kind of tells me almost who it's for, kind of. So it's like, man, in the first episode of this show that all you guys are so excited about, you're like, oh, this was the show of my childhood. In like the first scene, a dude gets his head cut off. It's like, whoa, okay, this is a bit different than what I thought it would be. Kind of, I will say. So yeah, no magic, dude got killed, pretty cool. Alright, I wrote down the physician, Gaius. He was pretty interesting. I will say it's like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. It makes sense that Merlin would have sort of this older, wiser figure, kind of father figure, honestly, who would sort of be there to guide him through his magic, basically. Even though he's not a sorcerer, he's a physician, but he knows of magic, and he has the spell book at the end and stuff. So he was really good. The poor guy, he keeps telling Merlin, like, don't get into trouble, and Merlin just keeps doing it. Yeah, I thought that was a little weird how Merlin, excuse me, how Merlin just kept getting into trouble. Like, that was interesting, actually, that he just kept, like, giving in to Arthur, basically, and he kept, yeah, pretty much just that. And, like, he slightly got into trouble with, well, he didn't really get into trouble with, Helen. I'm so tempted to say Gwen, but because it's Eve Miles. But I can't say Gwen because there's another character named Gwen. Yeah, Guinevere. So, yeah, but yeah, so, but he was kind of snooping around in there, and then, he walked in on Morgana, basically, while she was changing outfits, and luckily, Guinevere bailed him out. So yeah, but it's like, man, he is falling into a lot of trouble in this first episode. I mean, it was kind of funny, really. It's just like this guy just won't stay out of trouble, and that second time after he fights Arthur, when he's just like, oh, well, he needs to be taught a lesson, and it's like, man, it didn't work the first time. You think it's gonna work now? So yeah, I wrote down Uther and Morgana. Originally I wrote down Arthur, but it's like, no, it's Uther. There is a difference. I wrote down Uther and Morgana. So at first I was kind of like, okay, well, is this his daughter? But no, it's actually she is his ward, basically. So he did say, it's like, I'm your guardian, and it's like, so I don't know. It makes me interested in Morgana's backstory, like why. I don't know. Like, who is she? Where'd she come from? And why is she staying with the Pendragons? Yeah. And I don't know. It is interesting because it's like, how long has she been living with them? Honestly, because it's like, Arthur seems kind of interested in her, and if they're not siblings, I guess that's all right. Well, if this was Game of Thrones, even if they were siblings or related, I mean, some people do that, but that's Game of Thrones. And I need to stop talking about that. We're moving on. It's not Game of Thrones, it's Merlin now. It's just Merlin. Not the point. The point is, yeah, that makes me very curious about just Morgana's backstory. So hopefully we get to learn that. I wrote down the Lich. Oh God, no. The Witch. The Witch, who was played by Eve Miles, which was fun. That was something I didn't expect, and I was kind of hoping, it's like, ooh, what if she's like a recurring villain? And it's like, dang it, she's not a recurring villain. But that would have been so fun if she was, but that's okay. Yeah, she was fun. I liked her in there, and then possessing, which I think she played both the witch when she was in the old lady makeup and the singer. So I think that was her both times, but I don't know. I guess I can't be sure. It's kind of saying that because they said the singer's name was Helen, right? But see, on here it says for cast list, it says Eve Miles as Mary Collins plus one more. So that leads me to believe that she was both of them. So yeah, like she was actually in the old lady makeup and stuff. So yeah, she was interesting villain. Yeah, she might have been like 10 times more interesting just because she was Eve Miles, and I just love Eve Miles. She was amazing in Torchwood, and it's great to see her in this. So yeah. And it caught me off guard too. It's like it just cut to her. I'm like, oh, hi. And that's so cool too, because it's one last little thing I get of her. Because just a few days ago, just 2 days ago, I finished filming. I filmed the last episode of Torchwood, so yeah. Hold on. It's kind of bothering me. It's not... This rock isn't actually touching... Alright, that's better. Like, I noticed about halfway through the episode that this top rock wasn't actually touching the sword. So, there. I just adjusted a little bit. I'm sure none of you noticed because of the perspective and stuff. Yeah. I like having this here, by the way. Even though the show's about Merlin, it's not about Arthur. Arthur's there, but... Which leads me to my next note. Arthur, what a prick. That's really funny that they kind of go for kind of the whole... Oh, he's the guy, he's the jerk, and he doesn't like him. And it's like, but that's Arthur. And, it's kind of interesting that the show is based on Merlin anyway. It's like, you would think it would be based on Arthur, like a young Arthur who will eventually become the king. But yeah, that's interesting. And then yeah, he is just a jerk. He's a dick. And he can get away with it because he's the prince, which sucks. It's what's with these shows and their jerk princes? I mean, obviously this guy is nowhere near like Joffrey levels, and you know, this guy's a lot more charming than Joffrey, but still. And granted, like, half of that is Merlin's fault because he just keeps antagonizing him. Like, okay, the first time when he's trying to stand up for that guy, for that one guy who Arthur was throwing the knives at, you know, that made sense. But after that, picking another fight with him, that was kind of stupid. So yeah, I wrote down the dragon. It just credits John Hurt as the Great Dragon. Thanks. I thought I'd get a name from this cast list, but no. The Great Dragon. So that was the one dragon that Uther let live, which is interesting. Did they really say why? I don't think so. Can I like go back to when they were talking about it? Where was that? They were like, yeah, they were eating. It was like around here. Turn subtitles on, listen. Hello. Why aren't you working? Is the internet out? The internet's not out. Play!
That I do not know. You are a question that has never been posed before, Merlin.
Why are all the subtitles in all caps? Amazon, what's up with that?
Uther banned all such work 20 years ago. Why? People used magic for the wrong end at that time. It threw the natural order into chaos. Uther made it his mission to destroy everything from back then, even the dragons. Well, all of them.
Yeah.
There was one dragon who chose not to kill. Kept it as an example.
Oh, okay. That's why.
Cave deep beneath the castle.
Okay. So he kept one of the dragons alive as an example. Yeesh. An example to who? The other dragons are dead. But that is a display of power, I will say. Yeah, that's definitely like a display of power where it's like, you know, I'm going to ban all magic, and because, you know, if someone can learn magic, they can probably, you know, undo everything. You know, like Gaia said, you know, throw the whole world through the natural order into chaos. So that makes sense that, you know, he would do that, and then as a display of power to discourage from anyone learning magic to go against him, he chained up a dragon. He chained up a dragon as a show of force. Like, hey, you think you can beat me with your magic? Bitch, I ended all magic, and I killed every dragon and locked one up as an example. So that is pretty good, I will say. That's pretty impressive that he was able to do that. So yeah, that was interesting. And then, you know, we had the conversation with the dragon later on. Well, I guess I'll get to that in a sec. We did say, you know, was this before or no? It was afterwards, when, like, after he fought with Arthur, that he was like, oh, if I can't use my magic, then I might as well be dead. And it's like, all right, buddy, you need to calm your tits on that one. Sorry, that was stupid, but it's like, yeah, you need to calm down about that. It's like you shouldn't use your magic for that. Not saying that he shouldn't use his magic for combat, but using it to humiliate Arthur, maybe not the best use you could have for your magic. Because, again, he used his magic to defeat the witch at the end. He did use his magic to defeat the witch at the end, and that was good. But using it to try to humiliate some jerk, maybe not the best reason. But he's got to learn that, because that's the thing. It seems like this show now, he has to learn his powers. Like, he's had his powers, he can do some stuff with it, but he needs to really learn his powers. And learn how to control them, learn like the proper like mindset to be in to use his powers, and yeah, and that's why he was given the spell book and stuff. We had to talk with the dragon about destiny, and it's like, you know, no one can choose their destiny. It's like, well, that sucks, you know, from it. Destiny is one of those things where it's like, you know, that sucks that destiny is, you know, that people think that destiny is a thing. It's like, no, you should be able to choose your own path. But at the same time, I get what they're going for, because they're trying to, you know, they're basically trying to foreshadow, hey, you are going to be the Merlin of legend, and Arthur is going to be the King Arthur of legend. I get why they're doing that, but destiny in general just sucks, so yeah. Now what was the like land he called, like what did he call the land? Let me get a bit of this.
Was given to you for a reason.
Yeah.
So there is a reason. Arthur is the once and future king who will unite the land of Albion.
Albion. I put Albany. This is not New York. It's Albion. Alright. Albion. Alright. Unite the land of Albion. So, is it like... I mean, King Arthur... I think that's French, isn't it? Well, no, it'd be English, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, because it's like, you know, they talk about... Because, you know, this is Arthurian legend, and this is Camelot, and it's like, okay, well, where is this necessarily? Like, where is Camelot in relation to the world? And it's like, you know, this isn't some made-up world. You know, they say, oh, well, may God have mercy on you, and stuff like that. It's like... It's like it is the real world, but we still have to add the fictional place of Camelot on top of it. So, and you know, the legend of King Arthur and Merlin and Morgana and Guinevere and everyone in the Knights of the Round Table and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's like, what is the land of Albion exactly? Like, where is this? Is what I'm wondering. Like, is this in the British Isles? Like, is that where this would be? Or is this in France or something? I have no idea. I don't think it would be France. Because I think it's a, like, English, Anglo-Saxon legend. But, yeah, I'm not sure. I think the reason I'm thinking French is probably Charlemagne, who was real, so, yeah. I wrote down Merlin and Guinevere. First off, so Guinevere, she's the maid to Lady Morgana, which is interesting. Which is interesting because it's like, well, she's the queen in Arthurian legend. She's Arthur's queen, and it's like, okay, I guess they're just not going to do that, and that's fine. You can do something else, and it's like, but they still make mentions like, oh yeah, who would want to be married to Arthur? And it's like, well, in legend, you are. And it's like, well, wait, but it's like, are they going to do that? Because they seem to have a connection between Merlin and Guinevere, and Arthur, I guess, is going for Morgana, but it's like, okay, so Merlin and Guinevere, but that's going to get weird if Lancelot shows up. I don't know. That is interesting, though. That is interesting that... I don't know. I guess I don't know the Arthurian legend too well. But yeah, it's just like, oh, there's Guinevere. She's the maid of Lady Morgana. It's like, alright. It's like, I guess you can do that, but it's like, but then to have her be like, oh, well, yeah, who wants to be married to Arthur? And it's just like, you will. But I guess he has to change. Because the dragon even said, it's like, you know, hey, maybe you gotta change. Maybe you have to change Arthur into a good man. Which is interesting, because, yeah, it's just such an interesting choice to make Arthur a jerk. Like, you know, there's so much that it's like, okay, well, then why would Guinevere marry him? Because she's not interested. You know, Merlin, who doesn't like Arthur right now, and, you know, it's like, oh, well, maybe you have to change him, which I guess if you can, hey, that sounds like some good character development right there. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting choice. We'll have to see where it goes with that. And then Merlin being named the manservant. It's like, so wait, so does he have to be the manservant and the physician's assistant now? It's like now he has 2 jobs and he's trying to learn magic. So yeah, that sounds like it's frustrating, but whatever. And then we also got the spell book at the end, Gaius's spell book from when he was young. And yeah, so now Merlin's going to be learning all that stuff, which will be pretty interesting actually, to have Merlin, to watch Merlin develop basically, because now he just has basic, he just has the basic powers of like moving objects and stuff like that, which yeah, that's kind of all he's done, is just move objects. He's kind of like slowed time a little bit, like he'll move or stop objects or make things go faster, because when he was able to stop everything when Gaius fell down, and then he looked over, he got the bed and zoomed it over here and then let him fall. Or like when he saved Arthur, he was kind of going faster than the knife was actually going, and then he got him out of the way just in time. So yeah, it's like he has basic like speed powers, I guess, and powers of moving stuff. So yeah, we're definitely gonna need. I imagine we're definitely gonna see him improve as a sorcerer. But now he has to do it. But he has to do it in secret, and now it's gonna be even harder because he's got to be the manservant of Arthur. So yeah, who I'm sure would love to get Merlin killed for magic. So yeah. But that was an interesting first episode. I really enjoyed it, actually, and it makes me curious as to where the show is actually going. So yeah, because we had, it's like I don't exactly know like what the story will be like. Like, what are we building towards exactly? It's like, I mean, yeah, we're building towards Merlin becoming the great sorcerer and Arthur becoming the king, but what exactly does that mean? Does that mean at the end of the season, or does that mean at the end of the show? Is this sort of like a Gotham situation where it's like, yeah, we're building towards Bruce Wayne being Batman, but that's going to be at the end of the series, and here's all this other stuff. So yeah, we're going to have to see where we're going with that. But I'm curious. I'm curious as to where we're going. So yeah, that is pretty much that. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to check out more of my Merlin reactions as they come out, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.